Oh,
Hello.
look who's back from the dead.
Hello.
Oh my God.
I had to put eyebrows and lips on.
Oh, man. Well, you look good.
Sorry.
Yeah, white guys. Yeah, white guys. I'm feeling
You
better today.
You're back from the dead.
you've been through the ringer.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what's happening, but it was bad, 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 bad. But whatever it is, you got to stay away from it. Do not go over to anyone else's houses.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're having brunch.
We just got
It's
back
a
from lunch.
no. Yeah, no. The
Yeah.
answer should have been no. We're not going.
Watch, we both get sick tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ugh.
Just from us Zooming, I think you will be
Yeah, we're gonna get it from the
from
Zoom.
the Zoom. It's
Yeah.
that prevalent. The doctor left and came back in with a mask on. Like she came back in against the wall and was like, "Well, you're positive for flu A." And then like I Googled it and it was like worst flu of ever of all kind,
Oh gosh.
of
God.
all eternity.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I see." So needless to
Hmm.
say,
Needless to say.
as February's the new January, I haven't missed out on anything. Everything's fine. Also, what exactly are you wearing?
This is my cardigan,
Yes, I know it's a cardigan.
but the
This is
brand
a little
is
bit different for you.
the brand is Rancid. Just
Rancid as in the band.
as in the band. It's like
It's their merch.
it's like merch. Speaking of merch, this is Rancid merch.
Oh, I can't laugh very much or we'll never get through this because my throat will literally collapse in. My lungs will collapse.
Okay, well, this is mostly a little pop in because we had our first episode this week, but you were sick.
Yes. I'm
But
very mad I missed that actually.
it was good. There was tears. There was
Oh
like a
my
lot of
God.
it was a really good conversation, and actually to hear someone who was like there.
Yeah.
Um, so this is gonna air right before the episode. So you're
Okay.
gonna like this episode. It's very real, and like actually hearing what it's like to be there and see kind of your community change so much is it's a
Yeah.
lot of emotion there. So
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to it. I was
um
super bummed I missed that one.
yeah, it was nice to have Christine, and that was who we were,
Yeah.
Ryan's wife, and then that was who I
Yeah.
was just in LA with a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay.
But we also have our so it's getting finalized today. We'll fine tune and we'll add along the way. But this is like the
Okay.
official launch of the website.
Yeah.
Baby, like just like it's a baby pod, it's a baby website.
Just a little baby website. That's what we'll call it. Go check out our little baby website.
And tell us if there's something that you want that you don't see,
Yeah.
because we can improve it always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Want, like you were saying, people check it out and be like, oh, you know what I would like to buy? Or do you know what that logo would look cool on? You
we're all
know,
ears.
we're all ears. You want our logo on an apron? Give us a week.
Give me a week and we'll have an apron. We'll
We'll
have a
have an
cooking
apron ready to
apron.
go.
What do you want it to say? Do you want it to be the float and say needless to say, or
Needless to say, we have a lot to cook about.
needless?
There's options.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And then we can edge on more like different styles or colors, but
Yeah.
still maintain to the afloat name, of course.
Up to the float name, and printful quality is good. We've gone through the reviews to make sure it's good quality, make sure that
Nice.
the float pod print that we sent in is of good quality.
So it's not going to look shoddy.
No, I went through and made sure that it was up to the graphic standard to be high quality, so it looks
Okay.
clean.
Nice.
And then we'll just go from there and adjust as
Yeah.
needed and add as needed, because we can kind of add easily all kinds of
Different
brands,
options.
different brand options, different types of shirts. Yeah, mugs. If you want a mug, we could whip up a mug. That's
Yeah.
what's nice. And we're not sponsored by them yet, so I don't want to give too much praise to Shopify and Printful, but
They do be
pretty
helping us.
awesome. They
They
make
do
it
be
pretty
helping us
easy.
out.
Yeah. So
That it was easy, you're saying. It was pretty simple.
very simple, very like they really help you get it all set up in a nice way.
Oh,
So
that's good.
so
Sponsor us.
yeah, sponsor
No
us.
big deal. Shh. I
So
could be on death's door, so one sponsor before I die would be nice.
so that's what we have
Let's
available
do it.
now, which is afloatpod.com is the website.
Love it.
Check it out.
So
And then
excited.
we hope that you enjoy this episode with Christine Craven, realtor in LA and coolest person in LA.
Love it. Here we go, Christine. And then cut.
And then it cuts.
Cut.
All right. New season of the pod.
This is exciting.
-1. She is not with us,
Who's she?
Melissa, because of an illness. She's sick as a dog. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
But right now she's not. She feels like this guy right here, the little alligator.
Feeling like a beast.
Yeah. Feeling like a bee.
Alligators are beasts.
Yeah. She's not doing well, but we are going to chug on without her, and then she'll be back next week. And we have exciting starts to the year because we have merch now, afloatpod.com. So we have pod merch, and we've got fun guests to talk to this season. And I thought the best way to start it is with our good friend Christine, who is a great friend. If you were at a restaurant and you wanted to get the biscuits and gravy, but you also saw the burrito and that looked good too, she would order the other things so that you could try both. That's the kind of person she is. And I would say she's probably the coolest person in LA. And she's a realtor. So we wanted to talk to her already, but then with everything going on in LA, we thought we would talk to her as well to see what it's been like being there during all of this, the fires. So welcome our dear friend, Christine Craven.
Hello.
How was that intro? Was
Hi
that good?
guys, that was an awesome intro. I keep on forgetting that. And I'm just like, oh wow, that's so sweet. That's so sweet that you remembered that. Because
That
man,
that
it's
you're the
that
coolest person in LA?
no, the ordering thing where yeah, you wanted the biscuits and gravy, but also what was it that
I think it
I
was the
forgot.
burrito. I think it was
Oh,
like
the burrito.
the
Yes.
burrito. I think you had raved about the burrito. What was the place called?
It's called Doubting Thomas
Doubting Thomas.
in LA, and it's amazing.
It's
They
great.
have really, 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 really good. I mean, everything there is good, but
I
yeah.
think I think you had talked up the burrito, but then I got there and I saw someone get the biscuits and gravy. So I was torn, and you were like, just get them, just get it both. Well, I'll get one, you get the other, and then you can have them both. And that's how it went.
That was one of the things he told me when he got home. I think that made him feel like you were a true friend.
Uh,
He's like,
see,
she really cares about me.
we have to prove ourselves sometimes because, we
So I
get
was just there in that spot, sitting at your table like a month ago, drinking every kind of version of coffee that Ryan came up with. Every morning it was like, do you want to pour over or do you want
I do feel like, is
Okay.
Ryan going to be upset that you're calling Christine the coolest person in LA?
I think Ryan would also call Christine the coolest person in LA. He gets it.
that's anyway, this is good.
We don't have to talk about that.
I'm
But
getting
you-
all turned around. Yeah.
You both have very cool jobs. Brian in the music industry, and he was on Afloat season 2.
Yeah, it was like a year ago, over a
Yeah.
year ago.
So listeners might remember. But then you are in real estate. How long have you been doing that?
Since 2020. So about 5 years. It'll be 5 years next month, actually, almost exactly. And yeah, it's been a really weird time.
So you started like before COVID, but like only a month.
Yeah, not actually, I started kind of in the thick of COVID.
Okay.
So that's so like right in the like Gosh, it's such a weird, yeah, I started right after COVID kind of really went crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, then 2021, like as COVID, more the middle part of COVID, when things were even more just, it was just it's been a really weird roller coaster ride and it's gone by very quickly.
Mhm.
But then at times, uh, it's been amazing because I feel like I've learned a lot. And it's just interesting starting a new job when you're in a time of crisis, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now we have another crisis. I mean, I'm just like, when's a crisis? When are we gonna be normal? It's
Well,
so hard.
it probably sped up your learning curve because like cycles that maybe would have normally taken like years were happening like every year. Like COVID starts, so that's one thing, and then the market kind of blows up weirdly. So then you're dealing with that, and then you've probably seen it change over the course of a couple of years with interest rates going up and then that changing things. So have you seen like what probably takes people 10 or 15 years to see? You've maybe seen it all in 5?
I think yeah, that's so true, is that these cycles are compressed.
Mhm.
So we've seen like the the absolutely just fervent insanity of COVID, where and then it was this crazy crash, really. I mean, it was kind of like it's there's been like people may not be aware, but like the last 2 years, because of the interest rates and the inflation that we've had, everybody's felt the inflation,
Mm-hmm.
really just has crashed the housing market pretty much. And then, but it's a relative crash because people aren't lowering their prices enough for most people to actually afford to buy a house.
Mm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just slowed the market down a lot.
Yeah.
And then now, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the fire situation.
Yeah. Before we get into that, what made you decide to get into real estate, especially at that time?
Well, one of my best friends, Juliana, she's been a realtor for well, her dad's a realtor. He's had their family run business for years and years and years. And so when COVID started happening, she got really just way too busy for one person to handle everything. And she had always mentioned to me, you would be really great in real estate. She was very encouraging. And so, I was like, oh, I love real estate. I mean, I own, my home and I have another property in Joshua Tree. And so I was like an enthusiast. And I always felt like I was that friend that you would have that if you ever said you're in, I would send you houses like, oh my gosh, look at how great this is. This is so cute. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I'd be that friend that would just look at this house. Can you believe this? Like, so stuff like that. So I've always been that person in people's lives, and also giving unsolicited like financial advice too. I'm that type of person. I was like, so it kind of was like, well, this could be a perfect fit,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and when, during COVID, my husband works in live music. And so people may have forgotten already, but it was very uncertain whether or not artists would be able to perform live anymore, and that we would that was a really weird, remember back then
Yeah.
Yeah.
we were like, oh, are we ever going to get to go to shows anymore, and from now on it's going to be all about live streaming and nobody's going to go to concerts anymore, and we're never going to, I mean, that talk was really bizarre
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
because
were out. We met you guys in Joshua Tree. Like that was that summer of 20. And so that was when Ryan was not sure what shows we're gonna do. Like we talked a lot
Mhm.
about the like you were seeing the housing market kind of be one way, and then he was seeing his job go the other way where it was just dead. Like no one was touring, no one was playing shows.
yeah, no one was allowed to tour. I mean, things were just getting canceled constantly, clearly. So it was a very uncertain time for us as a family.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, my friend needs help. badly. And, my husband's job is in question just because we just don't know how things are going to develop with everything, with the state of affairs of the world and live music. So I was like, all right, let's do this. You you have to sign up for a online school, and I'm sure there's in-person schools too, but I did all of my courses online. And then you, just like any kind of online type of course, you go through, you pass tests, you get the certifications for the different areas. I think there's like 5 different areas that you have to complete
Mm.
for your real estate certification. Then once you do that, then you take a state exam.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's essentially what it is. And so you can really do it as quickly or as slow as you want to. I mean, the worst part about it is that it's incredibly boring.
Mm.
Like, I literally would open my book and fall asleep within like 30 seconds. And I'm like, I'm gonna die just reading this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the worst part of it. But it's not a huge, the the part that's weird about it is that what you learn in the courses is not really, there's a lot of terminology, and truly real estate, it's about hands-on learning, and just that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Getting out in the field.
Yeah, getting out in the field and helping people,
Yeah. Yeah.
answering their questions. Yep.
Okay, so you start with Juliana, and then you're probably learning on the fly pretty quick with the way the market was at that time.
Yep. It was just like go time. The minute I had to hit the ground running. I mean, even before I got my license, I was already just like out there with her, helping her show properties because there's so much paperwork involved.
Mm.
To show properties during COVID, there's a lot of mandated, showing guidelines. It just very different. There are no open houses, so we had to be on site for every single showing
Mhm.
that a client wanted, to go to. So we had to be there with them. So we're just driving all around Los Angeles for like 8 hours a day, sometimes, like, so
Yeah.
it was pretty intense. But yeah, it was a it was a very interesting year and a half or so of, yeah,
Was it
until
exciting? Like, did you like it?
I did. I mean, I loved it. I do love it.
Mhm.
I love it. I love my job. But it's a lot different than what people kind of think it is. People think it's like super, I mean, they watch too. There's all those stupid shows. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
those shows are so ridiculous.
Yeah. They
So
definitely glorify, or
Well,
what's
they
the
probably
word?
just give a false sense of what it's really like to buy or sell a house.
Like the nitty gritty, the actual work behind it. Yeah.
Yeah.
oh gosh, they make it seem like it's so easy and that you make so much money doing it. And it's not accurate in the slightest bit for the average person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For somebody like myself um who got into it later in life, and it's not, I don't have like, you know, I just don't have like, there are some realtors whose like families have companies that have been doing it for years and years and years. Like I don't have that,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
makes
different.
sense. Just a different experience. So then
Mhm.
now, with where everything is at now, you basically the interest rates are high. People haven't adjusted their prices as such, so the costs are still high. Like,
Mhm.
what would your advice be to people trying to like starting that process of maybe not even LA, just moving to a new area or maybe a city and trying to maneuver where things are at? Like, what is your advice? Don't do it.
My advice is do what's right for you, and really just like consider everything. um my advice would be, everyone's different. What's right for me is going to be different for another person. But, you know, obviously, because I'm a homeowner and I'm a realtor, I believe in home ownership. I feel like people might think, oh, realtors are really shady, or they have, kind of negative connotations with it. But people, like for me, I I believe that homeownership actually gives you a lot. Sorry, my dog's barking. Is that too loud? Yeah.
No, you
You know,
can't.
and I feel like owning real estate gives you a sense of, it gives you options. It opens you up for options that you may not have. Sometimes people say, well, if you're a renter, you can just, end your lease, or, like move, you can move at any moment. But I feel like financially, when you own a property, there are so many options. You can rent that property out and then move, and then actually have income if you need it. Um, yes, there's expenses to home ownership that make it difficult sometimes for people. You do have to factor in like maintenance and just all the things you guys know. Jake, you're brilliant you're a contractor. So
Speaking of jobs that people think are shady, but they're just trying to help.
oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you said that. People think contractors are shady. They think that realtors are shady.
Yeah.
And there are shady contractors and probably shady realtors, but
100%. Yeah.
there's also people that are just trying to help and
Yeah.
deliver for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you want to be a homeowner and you have the means to do it, I feel like it's the best thing you can do with your money to give you a sense of um, security, a sense of control, a sense of just being able to, you know, move forward in certain aspects of your life, depending on what that might be. It opens you up for things like, so I feel like it's definitely a great thing. And just my advice would be figure out your budget, like with your finances have to be the first place that you start with. And then from there, if that's a goal for you, then work towards it.
What are
So
some of the surprises that homeowners see, like when they're buying a house and then it gets down to it and they're like, oh, I didn't realize this, or I didn't expect this, or some of the things that become standard for what your process, but then it inadvertently maybe even just throws them off, or they didn't know that was coming, or
I think probably what most people get thrown off by is maybe maintenance, stuff like, the cost of maintaining your home, I think maybe throws people off sometimes. Um, and so I would say just be prepared for that. Um, you have to just be really diligent about how you organize things so that you can account for all of that. And then property taxes too.
yeah.
Make sure that you're really cognizant of your property taxes, what your rate is. So what happened a lot is that because California is so expensive, people started moving to Texas. Okay, and I don't know, a lot of people are like, oh, we're gonna get out of California. This is a nightmare, blah, blah, blah. It's so expensive here. You move to Texas and the property taxes there are incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And so many people got there and were like, oh my goodness, this is not near as cheap as I thought it would be. My cost of living is not that much lower than it was in California because of the property taxes, and I don't get California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that here too. Yeah.
We've had some friends price out houses here and they're like, oh, it's way cheaper there. And then they start going through like property taxes and all of that. And they're like,
never mind.
They go from like, it's so much cheaper there to like, how can anyone afford to live there?
Yeah.
Because the property taxes here are the same. It's just high to where you might buy a house for a fairly reasonable price, but then you might be paying 15,000 a year in property taxes
or more.
20.
Yeah, 20.
So
our friend pays, I think, 21,000 a year in property taxes. Yeah.
In
Warwick.
Just in the village of Warwick, there's a lot of people that pay $20,000.
Yeah. And like a huge portion of that goes towards the school district, which if you have kids is great.
It's a good school district,
But if
but
you don't, that's really frustrating.
yeah.
Wow, that's really, really tough. I did not realize that it was that high
Yeah,
in
it's
town.
crazy.
That's wild. Oh my
Yeah,
And
goodness.
it's a decent
Interesting.
sized house, but it's still just like, yeah, it's a lot.
yeah.
Wow, that's super interesting.
Yeah,
So
the
you,
taxes can really get you.
Yeah.
So that is good advice to like get your finances in order, be aware of all of the costs, um,
yep.
know what maintenance could be. Do you recommend like kind of going into it knowing how much things are going to cost if things break down, or like how do you recommend going about a maintenance budget so that it does, if something happens, you're not totally thrown off?
Well, every house is different. You know, if I would say, I guess beforehand, before you even consider buying a house, the rule of thumb is always 1%
Okay.
of purchase price of a home is what you should kind of look at
Okay.
or account for in maintenance. And once you're in escrow, if you do actually go through the whole process of trying to purchase the home inspection. I mean, you're gonna get the home inspection. And most of us, we're gonna walk into a house and there's gonna be things that we want to change, like, oh, I hate this tile,
Mm-hmm.
I hate
Yeah.
this flooring, I hate, whatever, or maybe there's just different things. So in your mind, you have to kind of think about that, and just talk to people. I feel like people who get afraid to discuss these things, if they're afraid to tell people, I do want to buy a house someday. And
Yeah.
like, it's okay to talk about that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And people who actually own homes, like, what was it like doing this? And how was that? And like more
Yeah.
information is better than,
Totally.
Yeah.
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 I remember like I feel like I loved talking to you about it because we have owned in the past long time ago, sold and decided that home ownership was not for us. I think now we're in a different place and we would consider it, but we live in New York, so it's extremely expensive and that kind of. But we've talked about that, and I appreciated how balanced you were in giving advice. Like obviously you love it and you're an advocate for it, but you also weren't like pushing it, and you were very understanding of like the reasons why someone might not decide to
Yeah.
purchase a home. So yeah, I think being balanced is very helpful because it does feel a little vulnerable to talk to someone. Like you said, not everybody wants to have that conversation. So if you're opening yourself up about it, it's nice to talk to somebody who is like understanding of your
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, because it's not easy. And that's the thing, is that nothing in this life, unfortunately, is easy, especially when it comes to like stuff like this, like that has to do with, yeah, finances, buying a home, stuff like that. I mean, this world just is not set up in a way that makes these kinds of things easy, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't, I never, I want people to feel like they, I just basically what you said. I'm an advocate for people for doing things that's right for them,
Yeah.
because it's just, I totally, the amount of stress and just things that you have to do when you own a piece of property or anything, everything needs maintenance. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And especially so it can be a lot, and it's not for everybody, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It depends on your situation. It depends on everything's like, it depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It just depends. Like, is it a good time to buy? It depends. Like, that's my answer for everything.
Yeah.
It depends on like,
Yeah. So then how do you think, like right off the bat, what are your initial thoughts on what's going to happen with like the Palisade? Or okay, so switch gears a little bit. What's it been like what was it like that first day?
Yeah, walk us through that because
oh
you guys
yeah, I
are
don't
in
know
the
what
heart of
happened.
LA. You're like,
So you're
Did I pull
basically,
up where we are in relation to the fires? I don't
yeah.
know if I have
yeah,
it.
he did.
Yeah,
Oh, you did? Okay.
but
Great.
you're in Atwater Village, so you're kind of
Yes.
right between the Palisades and the Eaton fire, right? Would you say?
Yep, but we're right between where the Palisades and the Eaton Fire are. Just in a little sliver of at the northeast part of Los Angeles, right at the border of Glendale. And then Glendale is right on the other side of Glendale is pretty much where Altadena
Mm.
burned down and Pasadena is like kind of, so it's a little bit further east of, so we're essentially we're like 20 minutes away from where the Eaton fire happened, and then we're about 30 minutes from where the Palisades fire happened, so like kind of right in between.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was very, very strange and very surreal, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to walk you guys through it, essentially on Tuesday, that day, it was the day after mine and my husband Ryan's anniversary. Yeah, like our 24-year anniversary. Thankfully, not our 25-year. Thank God
Yeah.
it was 24.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, and we had just come back from the desert. We like went to this really amazing, like play this amazing, like mineral spa resort place. Yeah, it was amazing. And we get back and we're like all happy and everything's great. And, Tuesday comes along and, we like, they said, oh, Santa Ana winds are going to be happening, which happens in Los Angeles. For those who don't live here, there's like this weather pattern that happens almost every year called Santa Ana winds, and it gets really, really windy and dry. And it's kind of just like kind of weird weather. And I hate it, but they always talk about fires. There's 4 seasons in Los Angeles, which are spring, summer, fall, and fire season. So that's basically all we've got. So it's like, okay, fire season, yeah. And you just kind of like put it out of your head. And then the different thing was that they kept on saying life threatening. They said life threatening fire warnings or something like that. I forget exactly what they said.
Hmm.
But still, even then, you don't think, oh, it's going to be close by. You think it's going to be way up in the mountains, or there's this one town called Silmar. We thought maybe it would, normally that's where all the crazy fires happen. So Ryan and I, Tuesday night, we're like, oh, it's really nice. Or it's really cold. It's really cold. It's windy outside, but it's cold. And then we turned on the TV and we're like, oh my gosh, there's a fire, there's a fire happening in the Palisades. Like, oh, that looks really bad. Or what, like, you
Yeah.
had no idea
Right.
what was happening or like what could, what was going to happen. You had no idea. So then we go to bed, we wake up the next day, and it was a really strange day. Like I almost feel like I have PTSD from that day, from the next day, which was Wednesday, just because it was so, you turn on the TV and it's just like everything's on fire. Like literally everything's on fire and people's houses are burning down. And we were like, oh my gosh, what do we do? There's 0% containment. And, all the images going through were really awful. And we just didn't really know how to react to it. And so we were basically home the whole day. We didn't do a thing, essentially. We just were like, this is so strange. And that our power, I was waiting for our power to go out, didn't go out. Our power didn't go out the whole time. And then all of a sudden that evening, we heard there's a fire in the Hollywood Hills, which is even closer to us.
Yeah.
And we were just like, this is insane. So we packed our stuff. We got our go bags. We packed, like a couple days worth of clothes. We packed up I actually thankfully have all of our important documents in one folder, and we threw that in. And then we just, within like 30 minutes, we weren't on evacuation orders or either mandatory or voluntary, so we just left because we weren't sure. It happened in the evening, the Hollywood fire. And we thought, well, if we go to bed now, and what if they say at 3 a.m., you have to evacuate. I'd rather evacuate now
Mhm.
than evacuate in the
Well, there
middle
was
of
all those scenes of just cars being abandoned on the streets. It's like everyone, if everyone leaves at the same time, then it's like then you all get bottlenecked, and then it's a big mess. So to
Mhm.
preemptively be like, instead of going to bed, let's just get out of town is makes sense.
Yeah. So we were just we were like, this is way too close to home, and just um yeah, we just need to, that's like 15 minutes from our house.
Okay.
So we just decided, all right, we're getting out, and we went to Joshua Tree. And then we're very thankful because we only had one night available at our place in Joshua Tree, but one of Ryan's colleagues has a place out in Yucca Valley, which is close by. And so we stayed there for 2 nights after that.
Mhm.
Um, but Julie, my friend Julie, she's in Highland Park, which is a little bit further east, closer to the Eaton fire. And her whole house, especially on Tuesday night specifically, not the night that we left. Actually, no, we left the same night, the Tuesday night, full of smoke from the
Mhm.
fires,
Wow.
just full of smoke. She said that it was like sleeping next to a campfire. It was awful, all
Yeah.
that toxic smoke. So they had to leave too.
When that, oh gosh, I lost my thought.
So
Okay, so that was Wednesday. You guys went to Joshua Tree because you had an Airbnb there. You had one night available, so you were able to stay, and then you stayed for two more nights. So
Mhm.
during that time, did you know how your house was, or like, did you have a finger on the pulse as far as what was going on in LA? And were friends losing homes? Like, how was that situation?
Yeah, so we definitely were paying attention to the news and looking at the fire maps and the apps constantly and checking them. We hadn't heard of anyone directly during that time that we knew personally that had lost their house uh, during that 3-day period. Um, but we were hearing of friends of friends
Mhm.
that were in the evacuation. One of actually a really good this couple, really good friends of ours. They live in Altadena on the far west side of Altadena. So where the fire happened was on the far east side of Pasadena. They live on the far west side, but oh my goodness, they got evacuated. They had to evacuate, and it was so hard. I feel so bad for them because, just the stress. They had just built an ADU, literally just finished it like last month, and they had just moved into it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a recurring story, by the way. So many people are like, I just remodeled my house and it burned down, or I just bought the house and it burned down.
Yeah.
So most of during that 3-day period, it was just like, we don't know what's going on. We don't know. We have no, like, oh my gosh, like we weren't, like, we never felt in danger of our own home, but a lot of other friends. It
yeah.
was just constant checking on people, checking on this person, checking on that person. And then when we got home on the Saturday, that's when we found out that several of Ryan's old coworkers, their houses burned down. Um, Other friends of ours that we knew, a client that we're working with right now to try to find a lease for their house burned down. Um,
Hmm.
so that's when it happened. And we found out that our friends who have just built the ADU, their house did not burn down.
Oh wow.
So 90% of the town or more has burned down, but their house is okay. Their
Wow.
house is okay, but there's tons of smoke damage.
Wow. And Altadena is pretty, it's not like people see the Palisades in Malibu, which is very like high end. But like from what a lot of what I've heard, Altadena is a very like working class town. It's like where a lot of like people, maybe like grips and lighting guys that make
Mhm.
like, production type people, or um it's more the working class, like people that are around the industries but aren't, like super rich, well-to-do people. It's like more of a working class town. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's super diverse. There are a lot of, like, yeah, people who work in the industry. there's a lot of musicians and artists and people like that that live in those areas. A lot of multi-generational families too, and like people who have been there for years. Is one of the first areas that was that was available to Black homeowners.
Hmm.
And, because there was a time when there was a lot of discrimination with real estate, and it was one of the only neighborhoods that people of color were able to purchase in. So there was a lot of like racial and ethnic diversity there too. So it was just so cool. Talking about it right now actually makes me want to cry. Like literally, I just think about it because we have so many friends who lived who wanted to live there. Like the homes were gorgeous. I mean, this sounds really superficial to cry about, like, the homes, but the homes were so beautiful.
Yeah.
There are so many gorgeous like houses. It was really like woodsy and just full of character. And there's a lot of businesses there that small mom and pop businesses, restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's
Yeah.
I can't
It was a really
imagine.
cool neighborhood. I I would have loved to have lived there at some point, or we have friends that live there too. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Have you guys driven through Altadena or Palisades? Like,
Not
have
yet.
no?
Yeah, we're not doing that quite yet. I mean, I do want to go just because it will be really interesting, but or heartbreaking actually. I don't know what it will be. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see
It'll
how it
probably be like surreal
Yeah.
because it's just
very
a big swath of area that's affected.
Gone.
it's huge.
Yeah.
And I've never in my life would I have thought this could happen in Los Angeles. It's so dense here, and you just don't think that could
Yeah.
happen like that.
Yeah.
I think they said the Palisades fire is like bigger than Manhattan, like the area.
Hmm.
It's a massive area. It's not like a neighborhood or something like that. It's just a giant swath of land that's gone.
It's so awful.
Yeah. So
And
how is it feeling like around you guys?
oh, it's really weird. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a few different things that are happening. Like, first of all, small businesses are really hurting because I think a lot of people are just, it's not exactly like an amazing time to be like, oh, we're gonna go out to restaurants and like bars and let's yeah, so stuff like that, like people aren't necessarily in the mood.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like frantic searching for housing for friends and family or colleagues or people, friends of friends who need places to live. So that's taking up a lot of people's like time and energy, is trying to figure out how to house these thousands of people who have now been displaced. Um, so small businesses are like really hurting. So this week I've been trying to like focus on, let's order takeout from such and such place, and and just to try to keep our local businesses going, because that's what I love about LA. There's a lot of local businesses, and people associate Los Angeles with like superficial stuff, which is, of course, there's that factor too. But like the thing is that this city actually supports a ton of local businesses, because you can really make it here if you are making good food and you're like creating art or doing whatever it is. You can actually make it here, and that's the thing that, so like trying to support like local businesses and stuff. Why am I so like emotional right now? It's so weird.
It's like it's where you live.
Yeah.
It's like your town. Like
You're very rooted there, and to see something so tragic happen, that is extremely emotional.
like we've lived in Warwick for 10 years now. If something major happened to Warwick and like the place like where I got gas or where I got food was gone, you're gonna be like, that's gonna rock you because it's like that feeling of like, well, it would never happen on this scale or would never happen here, or if it's a fire, it's gonna happen this way, and then it doesn't. It puts everything into this weird, uncertain
Yeah.
feeling, right?
It's so weird. It's so strange. And just like the beach part too, because like the Palisades, it is a lot of very well off people that live there, the majority, and a lot of them are celebrities or parents of celebrities and all of that. But you have so many memories. Every summer we go there. Every summer we drive down Sunset, down that canyon that burned. We
Yeah.
drive down that canyon every summer multiple times. And it's like you just have so many memories and stuff of being in these places. And it's going to be so strange to just like how much it's going to change everything. Change,
Well, it's iconic too. It's like even if you haven't been to Malibu, you've seen that stretch along the ocean
Yeah.
with the houses that are right on the street, and then you go up the hill. Like
Mhm.
everyone, if they saw a picture, they'd be like, "Oh, I know that. I know where that is, or I know that image."
Yeah.
So it's very iconic. Like people know it,
Mhm.
So to see it change so much is you know jarring.
Yeah, it is. It's super jarring. So, I mean, it's a weird thing because like you just have to go on with life.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Mhm.
we're all just like, all right, well, now we have to like I have to try to help people buy real estate or sell real estate or rent real estate. But then at the same time, there's just always these like things that go through your head like, oh my gosh, what's like Altadena? What? Or the Palisades? Like, how is this happening? Like you just want to wake up and be like, oh, everything's back to normal. You know what I mean? And
Where are all of those people going? Are they finding housing in the city or are they having to find it somewhere else?
I think a good number of people, well, at least in the Palisades, I think that a lot of people are, yes, they're okay. Like they're with parents, they're with family, or, but they still need to find housing. A lot of the clients that I know of, they are like staying with their parents,
Mm.
a few different people, having to kind of scatter off into the surrounding areas of Southern California. Um, a lot of Altadena. I feel like, yeah, I think it's kind of mixed. Like most people are with family is what my guess is. I don't know statistically, obviously, what the statistics are with how people are managing. A fair amount of people are in Airbnbs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and that was a thing like when it first happened is like, we need furnished rentals, like people who can move in, blah, 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 blah. But furnished rentals are really expensive and Airbnb is really expensive. And depending on the different situations, I think people are looking for both furnished rentals and also new, yeah, new leases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't, yeah, it's been a weird transition, very strange because we've already had a housing shortage
Mhm.
and now it's even worse. So
Yeah.
like I've been applying for this, I've been helping this family, our clients, and we have applied to 3 different places, which doesn't sound horrible, but they're amazing prospective tenants. I mean, they have perfect everything. And people would, in normal times, they'd just be like, okay, yeah, we're renting to you immediately. And now it's so hard because there's
Yeah.
so many great people out there looking for a place to,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, so.
How do you feel like it's gonna progress? Like the fires aren't out yet. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Fires aren't out yet, but they're dying down, it seems like, or they're under control for the most part. So once things really die out, like what's gonna happen to like what do you see happening to Altadena and Palisades and Pasadena, and do
Yeah.
they like just start rebuild, like because that's the problem, like with New York, LA type areas, like the red tape and the cities and the permitting and the paperwork and the regulations. It's gonna be a brutal process for years to rebuild those areas. Like what does that look like, do you think, there?
It is going to be, I have been getting this question a lot, and I think that there's going to be a certain percentage of people who want to rebuild, but there's going to be a large percentage of people who decide not to rebuild. And I was just talking to an agent today actually who said he, if his house burned down, think of all the toxic chemicals
Mhm.
that have been released into the soil there because of different things. I mean, think of everything in a house that could burn and
Yeah.
what, you know, I mean, already they're talking about the air quality has been really tough.
Mhm.
And especially if there's that dust and everything, if you're living in it, I mean, I don't know how the remediation is going to go of all of that, cleanup of these areas in order to prepare for building and stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be a long road.
Mhm.
And I think that they're as far when we talk about real estate, I mean, it's so weird, it's so complicated. Like this agent, the agent that I talked to, this is not my opinion. This is the agent of this person. He was like, I think this is gonna be like crazy, like a lot. It's gonna be quote unquote good for real estate agents because there's gonna be more people needing to buy homes.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's what his opinion is.
Mhm.
I'm still, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm not totally sure. But there is going to be probably a lot of people that just want to get their insurance money and just purchase new homes.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll rebuild. I don't know. It's so hard to say.
Well, it feels weird to say because it's so fresh too to be like, but there probably will be some sort of boom construction wise. Like
Yeah.
there is things that are gonna come out of it. Doesn't mean it's like you hate to say it's gonna be a construction boom because it sounds like you're talking about
Yeah.
you think about how you're gonna make a buck off this or something, but it's just the reality, like everyone's gonna need to rebuild. It's
Yeah.
gonna there's gonna be a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
just feel for all the people that lost their insurance policies and all that stuff that happened in the last year. It's just crazy. It's just going to be a long road for a lot of people, it feels like.
Mhm. And very, very, very stressful.
Yeah.
Stressful. Yeah.
I was trying to look at, I didn't find the information, so I was kind of bummed, but I was looking up the town of Paradise that burned down
Yes.
because I wanted to know like how long did it take for it to kind of for people to start to rebuild, for the land to repair,
Mhm.
um, what percentage of people decided to rebuild. And I know it's different in every area, but just that was an entire town that burned down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I couldn't really find much information on it. Um, but I was seeing pictures of like right after the fire and then now, and people are definitely rebuilding, and there are businesses and things going on. But yeah, I would be curious to know like what percentage of people left, what percentage stayed and just bought new homes, which ones built, because it's kind of I feel like that was the first major fire that I remember where it just like took out a whole town.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, I'm sure there are
Yeah.
others, but that's the first one I remember.
Well, it'll just be interesting too because you're rebuilding, but there's no gas station, there's no grocery store, there's no
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
The
you're gonna have to drive a half an hour for a while to
infrastructures.
get basic things.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what our client said. He's like, I don't want to live. He's like, I don't want to rebuild. He said
Yeah.
that I bought in Altadena because I loved Altadena, the
Right.
way the community was. He's like, that's what I loved Altadena. So that's really, it's so sad
Yeah.
when you think about it. But yeah,
Yeah.
ugh, I don't want to cry again. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just, but yeah, he's like, I don't want to rebuild. He's like, I'm just gonna get the insurance money and we're gonna buy a new house. We're not rebuilding.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what he said. And if we do rebuild, it'll be like a rental or something like that. That's what he
Mhm.
said. So I think that's gonna be a really, I know,
What
Yeah.
a what a thing to like be there and live through. And
I know.
it's your home. You love LA.
And recovery is just beginning, right?
Yeah.
Is- Yeah. So it's gonna be, I really wish this didn't happen. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just like, I don't know what to say. It's just like both, I was frozen for a few days for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then now I feel much more like into, well, frozen, but then at the same time wanting to help. So
Mhm.
I'm in that mode now. I'm just like, I really want to help, like do something. I want to try to do the best I can to help with whatever it is. And so, but yeah, it's just weird.
It's weird how with things like that, like you said, life goes on.
Yeah.
You just start doing your things that you have to do and you keep moving forward. And I like you feel that when you lose someone you love, like you feel that intense grief and everyone rallies around you and then life just kind of moves on. And there's a very weird, like, and I think this is a collective community grief that's taking place
Mhm.
Yeah.
that, yeah, on a much bigger scale, it's like you have no other choice. Like,
But then the news is going to move on.
yeah,
Everyone around the
Yeah.
country will kind of be sucked into something else. And then you, LA is still kind of picking up the pieces and trying to make sense of something so, you know, drastic,
tragic.
tragic.
Yeah. But yeah, like you can't freeze. You can't, like, you literally have to keep moving forward. And so the fact that you're like trying to support local businesses and trying to help people find new homes and
Yeah.
like helping in the ways that you know how, that's that's amazing. That's
Yeah, that's all we can do. And
right.
it's really funny, well, not funny, but an interesting side note, is that Julie's dad, who is my best friend, I think I said that, she's one of my best friends, and I work with her. She's her dad he's been working in for 35 years, um, as a contractor, realtor, blah, everything. Um, he has been helping fire survivors for years. He's a developer up in Paradise. So he
Oh,
built
Oh,
affordable housing up in Paradise. That is, besides being our broker, his main business that is separate from what he does, like he's our broker, which means that he basically manages us as agents, like me and Julie, essentially. So like if we have questions and stuff, we ask Hector, her
okay.
dad, but his main business is building affordable housing up in Paradise
Wow.
oh wow.
on the lots that people have wanting to sell who have not, you know, have decided not to rebuild.
Mhm.
Wow.
And so he's helping to rebuild the town. And all of his homes are like super affordable housing.
That's
So
amazing.
Wow.
that's an
That's nice.
interesting, yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Ju-
good to hear too, because there's like all these stories of like the
Mhm.
snakes that come in and do all this stuff, but there are still good people that are trying to better the area after,
Mhm.
Exactly.
something like this too. So
Yeah, make it accessible too, because I think there's little like things that I've like sound bites that I've been hearing about people saying, what are they going to rebuild it into? Is it going to all be,
yeah,
luxury, especially the Palisades? I mean, if they do rebuild, it probably will be very expensive, but who knows? With Altadena, maybe it won't be. Maybe it will be more affordable housing. It
yeah,
could be.
Mhm.
And that could be a positive aspect of all of this is that more affordable housing goes in some of these areas.
yeah.
That
It'll be
is
a
more
shift,
accessible.
but it doesn't have to always be a negative shift.
Yeah, not always. So we're hopeful.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, so complicated because you think about like historic stuff and
Yeah.
wanting to uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
sorry for making you relive all that,
Thank
but
you for thank you for
I think
sharing.
thank you for
that
sharing.
was cathartic. Was that too much? Was that too much
No,
No.
I think that's
emotion?
like not what we wanted to hear, but like the
Yeah.
reality of what it's like to be in an area like that and have it happen so close to home and affect every people
Yeah, and we
and
were so concerned about you guys when it started. Jake
yeah,
was just like checking his phone constantly, and then he was in communication with Brian so much. And then I knew that you guys were probably, you know,
Yeah.
talking to a million people constantly. So I
yeah,
just was interjecting here and there, like, "Are you okay?"
That's
Um,
sweet.
but yeah, no, he was checking that map
yeah,
constantly, and because we are so far away, and I was like, I had this panic moment of like, are they gonna get trapped? Like seeing where you guys
Oh my gosh.
are
You
in
guys are so
between.
sweet.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just scary. And there's so many friends there, like
Yeah.
you just worry, It's super scary.
Mhm.
So we're glad that you guys are safe, that your house is okay. Um,
We
and
have survivor's guilt.
yeah, I'm
Like
sure.
survivor's guilt for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I? Look at me in my pajamas, like on a random, just cooking myself a nice meal. I like, well, these poor people are out there with no homes and just no pajamas. They don't even have pajamas. Like,
Yeah.
You
it's
could do like a
horrible.
you could do like a pajama drive.
Yeah. I will say I've seen like I follow some people that are posting the community drives and stuff that are going on. And it is cool to see. I don't know like if you've gone to any of those. Um, but just how much has been donated
Yeah.
and that people can go and just pick up whatever they need.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That is one positive about it is that just seeing the ways that people like the city has, kind of mobilized to help people. And then just some of the ridiculous LA stuff that cracks me up so much. I'm like,
What's an example of like a ridiculous
Yeah.
thing?
well, there's like, the Spencer Pratt and Heidi
Oh.
Yes.
I-
Yeah.
song. Like, I'll be your blonde. What is
I don't know, but my friend Aaron was like, he goes, Heidi Montag's #1 on iTunes right now. And I was like,
Yes.
who? And then like for what? And he's like, a song like from 20 years ago.
They're trying to support them. Is that why?
No,
They
like
burned
just
their house, his house and his parents' house burned down. They
okay.
have no insurance. Their insurance got dropped. They have no insurance, and they have two boys. And did you guys watch The Hills growing
She
Yeah.
up?
did. She did.
Okay, so yeah, so obviously they're like the most hated people to now being like the most beloved.
I know.
It's
So
really
Yeah. So I actually clicked on because I had forgotten about them. And
of
I
course,
saw it come
yeah.
up. Yeah, I saw it come up in my news feed and I was like, oh, I know these people somehow. So I clicked on it and I realized, oh, they're from the hills. And I didn't fully read the story, but at some point I saw like a quote from him. I kind of just skimmed through that said, like, we don't have money, something about like them being poor people, or and I was like, oh, things have not gone well for them. Like,
I mean, I don't. They were
that,
on. Yeah, I mean, I like kind of did like a whole deep dive into it the last few days because I
yeah,
was just, this is so LA. This is why I love it here because it's hilarious.
My favorite one I
It's
saw
fun.
was people just can't stand her, but Meghan Markle showed up with Harry
Oh,
for
really?
like a photo op. And so she's like trying to help, but she's not doing anything. And then she's focused in on this one person and talking and making faces, and then giving her a big hug. But then they film her leaving with that girl like she was on her team. Like it
Oh,
wasn't even a real person that
they're
actually was
staged.
affected by
oh
the
my
fire.
gosh. Yes.
She just did
Yeah.
like a photo op with
It's
someone that works for her. And it was like so fake. Like people are just, eating her up because she's kind of a
yeah.
horrible person. But yeah, that was a pretty funny one.
That is hilarious. And yep, it's Los Angeles. It's
Yeah.
just a wacky, weird
But it's home.
home.
And you
It's
love it.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's what? Yeah, why not? Like
yeah.
what? It's fine. It's
It's like
totally
that friend that's just
Uh,
a mess and everyone's like can't stand. But you're like, yeah, but there are mess.
but we
Like,
actually do
fine.
really love
but
them.
we love them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like deep down, you just love them.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
all the idiosyncrasies and just like the weird, yeah.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
Craziness.
it's LA. It's crazy.
Well, this has been amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for opening up and sharing your guys' experience. And
Yeah.
it's a lot.
So we'll see how things progress and change. But
Yeah.
thanks for the insight on what it's like being on the ground there.
Well, thanks for asking me to join. I feel honored.
Yeah.
And I hope this was interesting to people, and I love everybody.
Love
So,
you. We love you
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
yeah, we love you too.
I miss being in your guys' living room, like at night, like
Yeah,
hanging
hanging
out,
out.
listening to music, and
Eating
so
food.
we're gonna have to do it again soon.
We're gonna
We
do.
will.
Yeah,
ASAP.
yeah. Did you think of any songs?
I did actually. I was like, okay. But I just allowed myself to just like let the songs come into my head without really. So I have two songs actually.
Okay.
Okay.
So right, it's funny that you asked this question because the other night I was laying on the couch and I complained to Ryan. I said, "Babe, this is so depressing. Like, why we're always listening to like depressing things." And it's, I was like, "You always make me depressed with your music choices." And so I said, so we talked about, we said, well, what are the songs that literally when you play them, they just instantly make you happy? Like you just turn it on, you're like, okay, boom, like instant happy.
Yeah.
So my song is Call Your Girlfriend by Robin.
All
Okay.
right.
All
Call your
right.
girlfriend.
Yeah, call your girlfriend. Okay, so yeah. And that's Ryan's actually one of his songs.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really?
Yes. Yes. So that one mainly. But then a song that I would say is more appropriate for the times right now is off. Has anyone listened to the new Cure album? Because it's amazing.
Mm-mm.
The new Cure album is so stinking good.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
listen to it.
Song called Alone. And
Alone.
the album is called Songs of a Lost World.
Mm.
Oh,
Interesting.
Mhm.
But this song alone is amazing. And it's just a fantastic song. And I think that The Cure is, I mean,
I love them. I didn't even know they had a new album, so that's very exciting to me.
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, I'm excited.
very good. And we've seen them many times over the last couple of years, and they're incredible. I mean, Robert Smith is just a genius.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I respect him so much. He's in his older years and he's doing so great.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I'm totally gonna listen to that.
yeah.
What about you?
So I just have one song. I have had this song on my playlist and it keeps popping up. Like I keep seeing articles or little snippets saying this song is the most relaxing song out there. Like, and it's so funny because it rotates on my playlist, and every time it comes on, I do feel super like at
Ooh.
peace. Um, so it is Weightless by Marconi Union.
Oh,
You know
okay.
that song? It's
No, you
just
haven't.
instrumental, but
Oh,
and
nice.
it's kind of long, but like every time it comes on, it just puts you in like a very calm, like peaceful mood.
All right.
I love that.
Yeah.
I listen to Towns Van Sant all day today. So I'm gonna do Fairly Well Miss Carousel from Towns Van Sant. And then a record I got when I was in LA last month, the Selector. Let's just do
Ooh,
let's just do Too Much Pressure from the
nice.
I'm gonna
Perfect.
try to like start showing the albums that I pick a song from.
Oh, I love that.
Now that we have our records like right here. So
Perfect.
there it is. Thanks,
Thank you, Christine. We love you.
We love you. We miss
Yeah.
you. Say hi to Ryan and Gray and Napoleon,
Yes.
I know.
the dog.
I hope he wasn't too loud. That
Oh,
Oh,
was annoying.
no, Zoom like cuts out a lot of the background stuff. So,
Oh, good.
it's usually pretty
Okay.
good.
so
All right.
all
We'll
right.
see.
Talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.